On this week's episode of Friend Code, we spent some time with the fall Halloween update from Animal Crossing New Horizons. Nintendo dropped a Treehouse Live featuring Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and Minecraft Steve finally arrives in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Friend Code. I'm your host, Michael Damiani. This week I'm joined by Ian Hink.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. You guys have been holding out on me about Pikmin.
Oh,
no, I don't think so.
I think
Nobody ever told me it was so good.
I'm in a similar boat where no one was holding out on me. I just didn't give it a chance. But yes, we will be talking about Pikmin 3 in a little bit. Also, as you heard, I am joined by Daniel Bloodworth. How's it going, Blood? Busy
Hello.
Blood, and busy Ian, actually. Very busy time.
It's been a busy week.
So thank you both for taking some time out of your busy schedules to talk some Nintendo stuff. Feels like things are really heating up for Nintendo. Drastic change from earlier in the year where we were all kind of wondering, where are their games? What are they doing? There was no E3. They didn't do a summer big direct thing or anything like that. Now we're just swimming in news, swimming in updates, swimming in new game announcements. Nintendo doing whatever they want. They're madmen over there, just marching to their own beat, essentially. So, I mean, I'm happy though. I'm happy that we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
I think you're still overselling it a little bit, but
Oh, you think
it's good to have some news.
It's a simmer, but it's not a boil.
Maybe that's because the perspective was they were setting me up. There's people like me up that, hey, don't give them anything, starve them so that these morsels feel like a feast. You know, that they're doing here. Maybe they are geniuses after all. I do think there's. I'd like to hear more though. There's definitely some more games that are on the horizon that we haven't heard from in a long time. But we do have some games to talk about today, starting with Animal Crossing New Horizons. The fall update arrived pretty recently. It is a Halloween-themed update. There's a lot of stuff in terms of things you can acquire in it. So much as in terms of actual activities, though, that might be a point of contention for some people. I'll have to get your two thoughts on this, but yeah, I spent some time with this. I'm curious about the two of you, if you got to spend some time with this update, and what have you thought of it so far?
I played a decent amount of it. I haven't checked in a couple of days, but I planted a pumpkin patch of maybe, I don't know, 50 or 60 pumpkins,
Dude.
maybe a little more.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, and I surrounded it with I had a stone fence because that used to be my tulip garden, and I expanded it, and I've been swapping out chunks of the fence with Halloween decorations when I got them. So I've got the arch on either side going into the patch, and I've got like the lantern and a spooky lantern there, and like a scarecrow and stuff. It's really cozy. I hope to get I haven't gotten the DIY for the little pumpkin iron rot fence yet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Haven't either.
That one looks really cute. But yeah, I have gotten the DIY for the arch and the lantern and the scarecrow and a few other things. But yeah, I haven't gotten the DIY for the big carriage yet, which looks really cute.
I think that might actually only happen on Halloween. I think you have to get that from the celebration.
Blood is correct.
Oh, okay.
So for people who aren't familiar, the Halloween update did introduce some spooky new furniture and items, essentially. Yeah. There's a set, Ian mentioned a few, but to go over them, there's a spooky arch, candy set, chair, the fence, which is a recipe only, lantern set, scarecrow, standing lamp, table, and tower. These can either be obtained through recipes, which you can craft, which the pumpkins that Ian was talking about earlier are a necessary ingredient of that, or all but the spooky fence can be bought in Nook's Cranny from the twins. You can buy it in a special corner now, a blue table and a blue floorboard. Each day will have potentially a new item that you can buy through the month during this update. But there are...
that corner's been there for a while. They updated that with summer I think. So like there used to be stuff like surfboards and whatever. And now, it's the seasonal Halloween. And you have to buy pumpkin starters from either Leaf, or in the store.
Yeah.
And if you water them, how does it work? If you water them once, you get one. Or if you water them every day for 3 days, you get 3 pumpkins. If you water them once, you get 1. Twice, you get 2, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't try out
like
the
1
2.
day.
If you do,
I just did it 3 in a row.
If you do nothing or just water once, you get 1. I think if you water for 2 days, I'm assuming you get 2. But if you water every day, yes, you get 3 pumpkins, the maximum yield for your return there. You mentioned,
and the color is random.
Yeah, there's 4 colors. The default orange is the most common one, but I believe there is green, white, and yellow are the 3 other colors. So there's a total of 4 you can get. The other 3 are a little bit more rare.
And then you can plant
like
the colors to get more of the same color.
Right. Yes, that is very helpful. Ian, you pointing out that the blue table has been there since summer. There was a point I forgot to make when I opened this segment. I haven't touched Animal Crossing since snorkeling was added. I have not stepped back into the game since then, just to try it out for that update. We did a friend code covering that. That's how long I have been away from this game. So it has been a while, and
you're gonna have roaches.
Had a lot of roaches. Had the messy hair. Had to do all that. Everyone's surprised I was gone. It said 4 months. I was gone for 4 months.
Oh wow!
So everyone was still.
I'd been gone for 1 month.
Everyone was still surprised, but still stayed. Only one person wanted to leave, and I told them to stay, and they were like, "Cool, I'm staying." But as you alluded to, Ian, you did mention about the carriage. There are some items. So the Halloween event is running through Halloween, but there are certain things that will only happen on Halloween day. And the following items will only be available on October 31st. The recipes are getting them from Nook's Cranny, however they're going to be obtained. Those are the spooky carriage, flooring, the spooky garland, the spooky rug, a spooky table setting, spooky wall, and probably the thing everyone wants most, the spooky wand. Holding some items back for a day only thing.
So basically you buy the candy that's in the shop in the cabinet every day, and then you can give candy out to the different villagers, and then they'll exchange with you.
Okay, so that's how it's gonna work. Yeah. That's nice. Because yes, they are selling candy that you can only buy 1 a day limit, and I was like, you can eat it. But I was like, I'm gonna hold on to this. What is this gonna be used for?
Yeah, you trade it with the villagers who will be in costume on Halloween. I don't time travel, but I watched a video of someone showing it off, and apparently Jack, the spirit of Halloween, will be there.
Oh, nice!
It's like a little pumpkin man. The rug has a motif with Jack, and it looks so nice. But you can get the Jack costume, which is a hat and a robe. I don't remember if that's only gettable on the day, but if you dress up as Jack, animals will give you candy.
Oh, funny.
So apparently that's like a hack. It's like a hack to get infinite candy, basically, so that you can get all the DIYs you're missing.
That's nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, unless they change that. But like, if you just go into a building and it resets, and you come back out, and they'll just give you all candy again. So you can give them all candy that you've collected, and then you can dress up as Jack and shake them all down for more candy, and rinse, repeat. You know?
Yeah, I don't think Jack's outfit's available then until Halloween, because they have a bunch of clothing that you mentioned or alluded to. Like I've been able to get like all the mages dresses. I've gotten all the mage striped hats. I've got all the impish wings. They have like furry animal costumes you can get. They have a Magic Academy robe. I haven't gotten that yet. But
got like zombie clothes.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
They have zombie clothes.
I've got like one piece of all of them. No complete set.
Yeah, I'm like obsessed with getting those. That was the thing I was drawn most to. But also, if you go, if you use your Nook miles, you can exchange them for 2. You can exchange them for body paint costume tips and new eye colors. So when you go to any vanity, like a mirror or something like that, you can change your skin color to pink, purple, blue, green, like something to look like an undead, basically, or ghoulish.
Yeah.
And as well as your eye color to make you look really crazy. And I kind of did that as well and put on like a mage dress, and I look like a kind of like a spooky witch right now in the game. So I'm kind of digging that.
Yeah, I've got kind of the zombie thing going on. The past few days, I was just regular, like I said, the ripped, shredded zombie clothes, and then today they had the Pharaoh costume on sale, which I think had been there previously, but it was in there today. So I did that with the mummy head, and then I have green skin and yellow eyes. So it's pretty good. But yeah, I have the advantage of my wife is still playing pretty much every day. So, I started a couple weeks after the month had started. And so I get in there and it's like, all right, my yard's already decorated. I've got tons of pumpkins, I've got a fair amount of candy and some costumes. So yeah, I've been able to catch up pretty quickly in those regards and just playing the past few days.
Yeah, sorry, before I say this, the last thing, you got a Jack's portrait in the mail. I put that up in my room.
If you turn the lights out, you can see that like it glows in the dark. It like pulsates.
Yeah, I did that by accident actually when I was cycling through my lights in my room when I was trying to figure out, because again I had played for 4 months. Like, how do I access my inventory again? Oops, I turn off the lights. Oh, the Jack painting is glowing. Our portrait's glowing. So that was pretty cool. Apparently on Halloween we're going to be able to get new reactions and emotes on October 31st. I don't know if either of you got to check that out, either through like a video of someone who time traveled ahead or not. So
I just saw it in a guide.
I did not see.
Oh, okay. But yeah, there's some other quality of life updates that were thrown in there as well. But in general, that is kind of, I think that is the crux, the totality of the Halloween updates there. So on a whole, I'm kind of curious how you feel about this update. Maybe in comparison to any of the ones you've tried. Are you enjoying this one more? Are you enjoying it less?
I mean, it's still a variation on what they had already done for Halloween, so it's not that different. The candy and stuff is still there. I think since you can decorate anywhere, they focused more on things you can put outside, like the scarecrows and the pumpkins and all that. And so I like that because, yeah, in the past with just being able to decorate inside your house, it was like you just sort of had to upend one of your rooms and try to fill it in with, the little bits and bobs you'd get here and there. And so I feel like, to me, this fits in a lot better with just sort of, how I play the game. And, I feel like I find more creative things to do with these items. Another thing we didn't quite mention with the different colored pumpkins is that you use those to customize any of these decorations. And not only are they the different colors, but each one of the colors has its own kind of like facial expressions, carvings on the pumpkins. So that's pretty cool to kind of play around with that and add some variety to how you decorate the town. And you can turn the lights on and off. So that's kind of like one of those silly obsessive things I do. It's like in the day, turn all the lights off, and then in the night, turn them back on.
So those little touches that add up and matter.
But yeah, way better than Easter. Easter was just annoying the whole time.
Easter was a nightmare.
Easter was overbearing.
It seemed like they learned. And yeah, I guess this is my first Animal Crossing game besides Pocket Camp. So, but I actually didn't know that you couldn't decorate outside before. That seems limiting. But yeah, it's so cozy, this update. And once it gets into fall with the leaves changing, I guess, I'm really looking forward to seeing that too.
Yeah, seeing a little bit of that. There's acorns and pine cones that drop out of trees now for certain recipes. I'll probably start doing those after Halloween's done. And I'm guessing that they'll probably get more frequent as time goes on, because I was trying today to get some acorns and stuff, and like I got one acorn out of all the trees that
I don't think I've shaken or chopped a tree in a very long time.
Yeah.
Well, I had to chop a tree to build one thing lately, but like I don't have to craft things anymore. I just my island is how I like it, So, but I like that pumpkins will go on. Like I like that apparently they don't stop happening once this is done. Like you can just have pumpkins now.
Cool.
Because the pumpkins are just so cozy. And I love the general fall vibes anyhow. So yeah. I mean, best holiday.
Yeah, I really like the atmosphere this is creating. I like the decorations. I like the the things you are getting as rewards for this to help decorate. Because again, I'm also a fan of the iconic imagery of Halloween and fall as well. It's one of my favorite times. I have a patron question here from Black Lives Matter Jesse Blue, which kind of touches upon asking us about an issue that I'm kind of still having with these updates. They say, hey, hi allies, I'm absolutely loving Animal Crossing New Horizons and all the monthly incentives to keep playing. Every time I think, well, I'll just get the short list of goals completed and then I won't have to keep doing the dailies they bring in another mechanic or NPC that keeps me interested. It makes me excited for what they might bring down the road. Other than what we have already seen in fall and winter recipes and features in the Southern Hemisphere, what do you hope Animal Crossing New Horizons adds to our fall and winter updates to keep us interested past Halloween and ultimately Christmas? So this question, I obviously, on one level, it's what type of stuff that you want to see that like they've already been doing. But before I ask you what you'd want to see about that and answer this directly, I want to say, I'll answer the last part at least, what I want to see. I think it goes beyond just the scale of what they're doing. I think while I love what they are providing me in terms of the rewards, I'm not liking the activities. I think it's very light on activity. It relies a lot on it's the nature of the game. It's social interaction. It's going to other people's islands. It's like it's like decorating your area and inviting people to show it off, and then like doing it's like RPing basically. A lot of it relies on your RP experience. I wish there was more structured objective stuff. Like maybe there was a bobbing for apples mini game or a hide and go seek trick or treat type.
I was going to say hide and seek
mini games. Yeah. I know that's not been Animal Crossing's forte. That's not what they do. This is what keeps me away from Animal Crossing after a month or two, whenever it comes out, and why these updates generally don't bring me back for more than a few days, if at all, and why I drift away from these games and generally are not drawn to the Animal Crossing series in general. And I understand it's just like a preference thing, but I also would love it if they would someday try that, because I think it would draw in someone like me more to this game. But at the same time, I wonder, I'm going to question, I guess, sorry to get cut off Jesse's question here, but also to add to it, what I'm asking for, do you think that would be maybe a detriment to some other players' experiences, that it would compromise what Animal Crossing is?
It's a give and take, right? It's a gentle balance, because there are a few instances where, like, you've got your bug off and you've got your fishing contest and stuff, which are really fun. The first couple of times you do them anyway. Also, sometimes when you talk to a villager, they'll be like, hey, I hit a treasure on the island somewhere. Go dig it up and find it, and little things like that. And like, I was thrilled the first time that happened, but I could imagine if it would upset the balance, I think, if 1 out of every 6 or 7 times you talked to a villager, they were like, oh, play hide and seek with me, like happy Halloween or whatever. And it's like, if you just wanted to say hi to 3 villagers to get miles, that would get in the way of that, doing that quickly. So they would have to do it in a way where you could initiate it, or like you could structure it somehow. They'd have to find ways to trigger activities, like maybe you build a booth or something, and then if you sit in it, an animal will come up and want to play hide and seek or bob for apples or something with you. Like, they could do it that way where you start it. But yeah, I think it would upset the balance if it was just kind of like a thing they peppered in randomly. But I do agree, more activities like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think for me, like, maybe more stuff on Halloween Day itself, and we'll see if there's things that we aren't too aware of yet. But I think, like, when you're talking about like the fishing contest and the bug offs and stuff, it's odd, because if you do the thing once and there's only the one prize, then it's like, okay, well, I did the thing and I don't really feel like doing it again. But then the opposite of that is sort of true too. And there's like 12 prizes and you're like, okay, I'm just repeating this over and over to try to, because I want to collect it all. Then it gets tiresome in its own way. So it is odd with mini games like that, and particularly And those things like the bug offs and stuff, they work better when you do go to a friend's town anyways. When you do that, it's just a lot more exciting to be competing with other people.
Well, and it like actually is more efficient. Like the game, the combo multiplier or whatever, like just works better if you have more people. The fireworks thing that they were doing throughout July, I guess, for like a few weeks, that was actually pretty cute. It felt special and interesting, and it didn't have activities necessarily, but just the general buzz of everyone like going around with sparklers and getting fireworks and trading in stuff with red for some reason. It was generally pretty sweet. And that's what I assume the Halloween vibes will be. But I don't know. But you're right. I mean, I guess my philosophical standpoint on Animal Crossing now, like I was playing it vehemently, like every day, on and on for months, and then I achieved my goals, right? And then I hadn't played it for a month until this came out. And like for me now, I think it's that kind of game where I check in when I feel like it, but I don't feel super pressure to play every day. And I like that. Like it feels like a companion, not really a burden.
Yeah.
Although I do still feel pretty guilty when my animals are like, oh my God, where have you been? Like Eloise, I have this elephant, Eloise, when I'd been gone for a month, she was like, oh, you're back. I can relax. Like while you were gone, I lost interest in everything. I stopped doing my favorite activities. I was just like, oh my God, I'm giving these things like depression now. So that was intense.
Yeah, to me what's sort of interesting with this is because, in a way, Animal Crossing has always been a game that you don't really complete,
right,
until a year has gone by, until you've seen all of these different events and seasons and the different bugs and fish that come around. And, it's like we're starting to see fall now, but then like once winter gets here and you've got the snowballs and everything, it's going to be just a whole entirely different vibe. And we're already starting to like, all right, we need to start saving up holly bushes and get ready to like just replace all the bushes with holly bushes so that, like it'll really feel festive. But what is curious to me about this, now that they are presenting all of the new seasonal activities and stuff as updates rather than things that were built in the game from the start, is what are they going to do past the first year? Are they going to look at what people hated about Easter and change Easter up entirely in year 2? So I'm really curious how long that they give to extend the life of the game beyond what's already programmed into there.
Yeah,
I do remember a quote of them saying like, we hope to provide years of content or whatever. I believe they said that about this game. Also, you raise an interesting point too, that I don't know if it's as palpable for the two of you growing up in places of less pronounced seasons than I did, but like man, these seasons really just give me like homey vibes, like because I miss living in LA. I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm used to very, very pronounced seasons, whereas here it's like hot and then nice. And that's it. So like seeing fall and winter and stuff is really gonna feel nice, especially this year because I don't think I'm gonna get to go home because of COVID. So yeah. Animal Crossing, the game we needed in 2020.
About the longevity, though, alluding to what they might do beyond the calendar year, Blood, as you mentioned, we have another patron question from Mike. Their question is, what do you think about Animal Crossing's use of intentionally gating progress with real time in order to keep the player engaged over long periods of time and prevent burnout? Do you think it was executed well? And do you have any ideas they could do to improve the longevity of the game, or perhaps to keep people engaged for longer?
I mean, that sort of like what Blood said is, my hope is that they adapt and that they take notes. Like, and to me, still the big updates I really want to see are quality of life stuff. Just like faster menus, like less repeated dialogue, stuff like that. For people who have been there for a long time, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't need this. I don't need to see this every time.
Can you still not buy multiple items from the Able Sisters shop in the dressing room of the same type?
You can't buy multiples of the same
Okay,
type.
right.
Yeah,
'Cause
so you can buy a full outfit, but not 2 shirts.
I was trying, yeah, because I said earlier when I was buying all like the mage dresses, all 6 of them, or 6 of each piece, going back and forth. I was like, is there? I feel dumb if there's a way to do this. If not, this still sucks.
Not, yeah,
that needs
like stuff like that. It's like that is just archaic game. It's honestly, it's the one thing that I think keeps this game from being like basically perfect. Like, you know, I mean, it's like it is what it is, but like that's the kind of stuff that holds this game back from like absolute greatness in my eyes. I mean, I still think it's, I mean, for me, it's a contender for Game of the Year, but like that's the one little nitpick, you know. And I think it is kind of a nitpick because I think that you could make an argument on the other side of that, which circles back around to this patron's question. I say philosophy a lot, but like the philosophy of this game, the game design philosophy is live here, you know, like be in real time with us, like take your time. That's the core of this series, is like it doesn't have a day-night cycle that's 20 minutes long, you know. It's tied to real time, and like if you're not time traveling, you wait for stuff. And so if you embrace that kind of mentality, like I named my island Lente, which means slowly, you know. You gotta kind of just like be on its page, because the game is going to force you to be on its page with some of this stuff, like buying 1 shirt at a time. So I think it's less of I don't see it as like a gimmick to try to artificially pad out user engagement. You know, I see it as just kind of part of the design philosophy, and like you're either for that or not, I guess. But I like it, and yeah, like I said, the thing that gives me excitement about that, and especially now that Nintendo is, because even, you know, as recently as the Wii U, like there were some games they just, even on the Switch, Mario Party, like there are games they just put out and never update, you know.
Yeah.
And this is not one of those games, and so they've shown that they're gonna grow with it, and I hope that they really do.
Yeah. I mean, didn't they recently add for the Mario 35th anniversary, they finally added like Mario items into the game, right? I think I missed that. Or did I imagine that? Into Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing?
Because, you know, the catalog
I remember
stuff.
them saying something about it, but I don't think it's happened yet.
Did it actually happen?
Yeah,
okay. Then I guess it didn't happen,
yet.
but that's one other thing is the crossover stuff. Start dropping in items from other games in there to get people.
Yeah, which again is funny because, you know, in older Animal Crossing games, that stuff was everywhere. You know?
Yeah.
It was sometimes harder to get, but like pretty much everyone had a Master Sword in their basement.
Yeah, like exactly. And
those arrive in March 2021.
Okay, thank you for that.
Theoretically on March 10th, which is Mario.
Gotcha.
That's a good prediction. Like the older ones having like the e-reader stuff, like with the NES games, like having like timed demos, stuff like that. I wonder. I hope they go in that more unique direction to help with the longevity. I mean, that's the only thing I could contribute. Besides what the two of you talked about at this point, and obviously, you know, more activity style events would appreciate that. At the same time,
remember when they did that random like hedge maze island? Like that was pretty cool.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Wait, what?
You can only do it once, kind of.
Yeah, like
like,
maybe
whoa.
not necessarily only once, but yeah, have a reason to like go off your island and do something cool would be neat.
Well, and like, yeah, little weird things like the wedding stuff was like,
yeah, I wasn't
a
into
neat
that one, but
idea.
yeah.
It got kind of tired pretty quickly, but like, yeah, and I mean, I just saw like a weird image of all the holiday faces, and oddly the bunny was front and center, which is, he's like terrifying to me. But like I didn't even think about Thanksgiving. Like there's probably going to be a Thanksgiving thing. There was some kind of like peacock with like jewels on her head, and I'm like, what are you for? So yeah, I don't know.
I think that's supposed to be like not Mardi Gras, but the
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
what they do in Rio. Can't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Well, we will see what the future holds for Animal Crossing. I'm sure they will see shortly what their next holiday stuff will be once the Halloween event wraps up at the end of this month, and what they've got in store for that game. Because I'm sure, as you said, Ian, I know you can remember a specific quote, but they're obviously going to be supporting this for a while. It's just like a runaway success for Nintendo. So if they're smart, they will keep supporting it because it's going to keep selling very well. But I want to move on and switch gears and talk about the recent Nintendo did another edition of their Treehouse Live series. This time they did a feature. They did a focus on Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which is also coming out at the end of this month, as well as the upcoming Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I want to start with Pikmin 3 Deluxe. They went over 3 parts in the Treehouse Live. They went over the story mode. They went over the side missions with Captain Olimar and Louie, and they went over a new mode called Bingo Battle, which is a competitive multiplayer mode. But I want to start with the story mode because they actually did drop a demo for Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which pretty much covered what they showed on Treehouse Live was within the scope of the demo. The demo was like the first few days. I don't know if you got to the end of it or not, but once there was a boss-like encounter at the end, and once you completed that and that day ended, it was the end of the demo for that purpose.
Okay, I'm in day 2 right now. I just met the rock Pikmin, so I've been playing for, I don't know, whatever that is, like an hour.
So at the beginning, Ian, you mentioned that we had been, you
holding out
on this. So.
Ben mentioned that it's good. I guess.
So it sounds like you're kind of digging what you're playing right now.
It's delightful. I mean, I was never down on Pikmin or anything, but I just never, because I didn't have Nintendo consoles growing up, so I never really played anything of it. This demo is the first Pikmin I think I've actually played, and I remember seeing it on the Wii U, because that's what this one was from, right?
Yeah, originally this was Wii U,
and maybe it was just because it was on the Wii U, but I was just like, I don't know. But playing it now, it's delightful. It's really fun. I can see already how you could get into some cool, like, puzzly kind of stuff with it, I'm assuming anyway. Neat that you can switch between types of Pikmin. I mean, this is all like old hat to Pikmin fans, but I don't know. It's just delightful. Hopefully all the little noises they make don't get annoying over time.
Somehow they don't. I don't know why that is exactly, but somehow they don't. And it's also really good feedback too, because when you hear the death sounds, it's like, oh no, you start
they
adjusting.
Can die?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No.
You're just doing like the basic stuff, but yeah, that's the thing. You feel very bad about yourself when you accidentally kill a bunch of Pikmin.
Blood.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me.
Now I can't play anymore.
The moment I went into the water, but I threw one in a rock Pikmin and accidentally went into the water, and it started to like freak out, and it's like, hurry, you need to like call them with the whistle before they drown. I'm like, oh my gosh, come back to safety, please. Because there's things that will panic, like the rock Pikmin. Also, there's an enemy that breathes fire, and if the rock Pikmin gets hit by that, they'll freak out, and you got to kind of summon them back, whistle them to calm them down, or else they might die. But certain Pikmin obviously have, like the red Pikmin, have immunity to that. And in the Treehouse Live, though, it was first time I didn't have any Pikmin die in my playthrough of the demo, but the Treehouse Live did show Pikmin dying. There's a monster with a long elongated mouth that like slurped them up. Was just eating the red Pikmin whole. Electrified enemy, and accidentally the player who was guiding the game forgot that they had blue Pikmin, which is not in the story demo. Went by an electrified enemy, and they forgot to keep track of them because they were jumping between the 2 different characters you could play at the time. And the blue Pikmin he went back like, oh, there's only one left. They all got wrecked by that electrified monster. They're all dead. I was like, oh my gosh.
How do you get them back? Do you have to go back to the
the onion? So yeah, the onion.
Your onion will just keep growing more Pikmin as you bring bodies and pellets back to it. So,
but you have to resupply it with flowers and bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't
Man.
just. I mean, I don't know if you saw yet, but you have in normal difficulty, you have a cap of 100 Pikmin in the field at a time.
Oh,
Any extras will
okay.
just stay in the onion. So if you do lose some, you just go back to your onion and you can interface with it and summon more back down. But should that be depleted,
yeah.
you have to propagate more.
The most I've had so far is like 60, counting the rock Pikmin. So, man, it feels so good to have a bunch of Pikmin. Like when I hit 47, I was like, I'm a god.
This is the first time I spent a significant chunk of time with a Pikmin game. I think I did gameplay capture for the Wii re-releases of the GameCube Pikmins, right?
Okay. Yeah.
During that
Yeah, the
series.
first two are GameCube, and they released them on Wii with pointer controls, which were surprisingly really great and intuitive.
I did like
I could see
a
that.
15-minute capture for each and threw them up as a gameplay. I think was like my extent of interacting with them. But I remember
Those were the days, huh?
Yeah, I remember Ryan's
gameplay.
Ryan Stevens was like convinced I would love this game. I was just flabbergasted that I would not had not played through any of them, the two of them at the time. It was just like,
I'm a little surprised.
and I don't know why. I think it's because I attributed it to being a game. It's weird. You think it's maybe like a game like Lemmings, and Lemmings can be fun, but at the same time it can be daunting. There's also a Little King's Story. Sorry, was that the name of the game? The one I reviewed it, where it's essentially kind of the same thing, where you're controlling different like troop types and having to send them off to do different objectives, and you summon them back. You form like a big group, but there's like, I think it's a little bit more combat heavy than Pikmin is. I think Pikmin's a little bit more jolly in its vibes. While there definitely is combat, it feels it can be laid back, but at the same time, my playthrough of the demo could get pretty stressful at times because you start off. There's like a tutorial part where you play as the captain, just gets used to the bearings. Then you switch over to, is it Alf? I'm trying to remember their names.
Yeah, it's Alf, Brittany, and Charlie.
Thank you.
So, like, yeah, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, basically.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's right there, right? Yeah, you get stranded on this planet. It's a cool story, actually. It was like,
I think it's like Alf, the alien puppet creature, and Brittany and Bravo and Charlie. Yeah,
it's a nice story. It almost reminded me a tiny bit of like ETS vibes, but also like all the just like the future fear thing about scarcity. It's like, oh, you come from this planet where they've run out of food, so you got to go find another planet that has food, essentially. And you found it at the last moment. You found a planet, and then you're going there on your ship, the SS Drake, and something happens, and you crash land, and you're all separated. And then when you start playing as Alf, it's when the game like really begins, in my opinion. And you eventually have to go and rescue Brittany, and then once you team up together, man, we already talked about there's multiple Pikmin types. I think there's only red and rock Pikmin in the story demo.
Yeah.
But you also have Brittany, and you can split up and give each other a certain amount of Pikmin and independently jump between the two characters to do multiple tasks. Like this game, like the multitasking, I feel can quickly get out of hand. In the story demo, it never felt like that. It felt very manageable and easy. But what they showed in Treehouse Live and the other modes gave me a little bit of an anxiety about how complicated the game might get at some point. So I feel like maybe Blood, you might have the most experience with this series. Does it, from your best of your knowledge, does it get pretty complicated at points in these games in terms of like multitasking between the different Pikmin?
You definitely have to like keep an eye on like where everything's going. So like, you know how they show it in the demo, but you don't really do much with it. But there's a point when they're like, okay, you can pick a point and say, go here.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times when essentially, where if you've already cleared a path of enemies, then you just sort of like tell one group to go here, and then you take your other group and manually go the other way. So that way you're basically trying to get as much done as you can in a day, because each day is limited by a timer. And I think that's one of the things.
I noticed that on the top, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think was, intimidating to a lot of people with the first Pikmin, is because in the first game, like, there's just a set number of days, and you have to finish the game at that set number of days. And you can do it with quite a bit of buffer. but it feels intimidating. You know, it feels that pressure because like each day only lasts so long and you only get so many. Whereas with this, the amount of time you have to finish is a little bit more forgiving because it's based on how many fruit that you collect and how much juice is in your reserves. And so if you find more fruit, then you can spend a little bit more time exploring and, searching out the nooks and crannies and, plotting things out a little bit better. The one thing that's a little bit of a hindrance, and it's not that bad because I think you can just I think the game might pause when you actually go to the menu, is that on the Wii U, you could see everything on the gamepad. And so you could just sort of tap between people and do all of that. And I also felt like the pointer controls, again, were a little bit more easy to manage than like the lock-on system that they've done now.
I can see that.
So it's like, if you were pointing at an enemy, like there was no problem. And if you needed to point at something else, then you just pointed at something else. Whereas now it's like, okay, lock on. Where, I had a couple of moments like that where I'm like, I'm not quite targeting the thing I want to target.
Well, I liked how you could cycle through targets by hitting the lock-on button.
Yeah.
That was nice. But
I didn't know
that. But the boss
That's cool.
battle, that is where I think it was most apparent that was benefits from the pointer controls. Even in the Treehouse Live, the person playing the game was saying how they personally preferred the pointer controls and switched over to utilizing those because you can still use.
Oh, you can do it with the Joy-Con?
Yeah, so you could still do there's options for gyro controls and utilizing that stuff as well. I personally didn't try that out in the demo, but control-wise, I didn't really have to. I mean, I felt like it controlled pretty fine. It's a little weird at first, the first time you're trying to move around, but that aiming reticule is what moves first. And then you have to extend it. It's once it gets to its limit, then you start moving. I was like, oh, there's a little bit of delay before you start moving, or you just got to always have it max range. And then holding down the B, the whistle to increase it. I was like, oh, you just always hold down B. Though that did get me in trouble, though. When I split up at one point, there's a part where you have to build a bridge across water, and you have to throw Brittany across first and send her some Pikmin because all the materials for the bridge are on the other side. But when I held down B as her, it started summoning some of Olimar's Pikmin to try and cross. But there was no bridge, so they all went into the water. I'm like, ah!
Oh, no.
So that part, I was like, no. How do I go back? I was like, I switch back to Olimar. Not Olimar, sorry, back to
Alf, yeah.
Alf.
And how do I get these characters back? So I was like, no. So I was like, okay, I just gotta tap B. Don't hold it down too long so I don't summon.
I should try out those Joy-Con controls because that is definitely basically one of the big advantages of having that with the Wii U version is that you can be walking in one direction and pointing in another direction and really just kind of, again, when you're dealing with more active enemies, it does make a difference.
Yeah.
It's funny that because you mentioned Lemmings, and I got immediate Lemmings vibes because my dad and my sister and I would play Lemmings all the time when we were kids. My sister actually, her boyfriend dressed up as Lemmings a few years back for Halloween, and nobody could tell what they were because nobody knows about Lemmings. But yeah, I got Lemmings vibes, except now I'm stressed out about Pikmin dying because I immediately loved them. I'm immediately just you're so cute.
I just love I like the puzzle element. It clearly at multiple points presents you with potentially multiple paths to go, or teases something that you can't quite overcome yet, but you're the first glass barrier, and you're like, oh, you can't break that yet until you get the rock Pikmin. I was like, oh, that's really cool. There's a lot of gratification from progressing through the game. And I'm actually I am really enjoying it. I actually think I might want to get the full game and actually make this the first Pikmin I play through in its entirety because I'm feeling pretty good about it. Yeah.
The save apparently from the demo carries over.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it also unlocks the hardest difficulty from the get-go, ultra spicy. So the difficulty shortened the length of days. So I think you only have 60. You have 60 minutes, I think, for a day on ultra spicy. That is that's an hour per day, I think, or maybe it's shorter. I forget what it is.
That seems a long time for a day. So yeah, maybe I'm misquoting that. I have to double check on that. But
it's just a tighter time window, and they throw more wrenches at you into the works in terms of your objectives. So what I'm playing on normal, apparently there's more to overcome to get like as far as you need to get in each of those days. So it's meant, they said Ultra Spicy is meant for veterans. If you already played Pikmin 3 on Wii U,
Right.
this is, you already know the game? Well, here's something a little bit extra for you, which is kind of nice. And that's also something, if you do want to replay the game, you beat it on normal, I'd like to, do better. But they also like show your, at the end of the day, how you did. So you can replay it and see how you can maybe optimize. They kept talking, even in the Treehouse Live, they're talking about optimizing your days to get more out of them, to be more efficient, which is, it's just kind of nice for people looking to just gradually improve in the game.
I can for sure confirm that Ultra Spicy limits you to 60 Pikmin.
That's it. Sorry, not minutes. 60
okay.
Pikmin. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can only have 60 Pikmin out at a time. That's what I'm getting confused about.
Yeah, other details don't seem to have been confirmed yet,
The
or
time
at least
thing
as of
is not
6
right.
days ago.
I mean, the time thing could be right, but they have not explicitly said that as far as I know. I just got the 60 Pikmin confused with 60 minutes for some reason. Yeah. But that's a good thing. Like limited Pikmin, and until Ian knew they could actually perish, now they're even more valuable to you, and you got to be, juggling multiple tasks.
I can't get over it.
Yeah.
I'm stressing out just thinking about my little Pikmin babies dying.
So the story mode is about, as Blood pointed out, it's about resource management in terms of you have only a certain amount of time to do stuff in a day. Any Pikmin that are not within the safe zone by the Onion/Drake by the end of the time limit will be dead. A funny story, when I finished the boss fight and the items you have to bring back, that is when it gave me the countdown. They were on their way hauling it back when the 10-second count, it gives you a 10-second countdown. I was freaking the hell out. I'm like, am I going to lose these items? I was like, no. I was like, summon them back immediately. I'm like, oh no, they're not going to make it. And then like, I don't even know if they made it. It said like they made it back, but that's where the demo ended for me. So I don't know if I lost those items. That was so stressful.
No, because you land back in that same area, so you just pick them up wherever
just go pick them up. I was hoping that would be the case for sure. But the juice, getting the fruits to make more juice, because if you run out of that, you're done. I assume that's game over. If you don't have any more juice, you cannot progress any further. There might be like some way that they let you roll back, but I forget how that might work. I don't remember that it's really that much of an issue unless you're struggling with it, but that seems to be the making more headway in the map so that you find more parts. You're trying to rebuild this cosmic drive key or something so you could get back to your home world to let them know the good news that you got all this fruit for them. That's a rich planet that their species can thrive and survive there. But they had other modes. Sorry, go ahead, Ian.
Well, before we move to the other modes, and maybe if this is a spoiler, don't answer this. But like, the first Pikmin you see are on the back of a can, and like you're tiny baby size, and like the strawberry is huge.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just like, is this like, are we like doing like a secret, like secretly on Earth thing?
Well, to that point, Ian, Pikmin 2 was just, all the stuff that you collected was like stuff that you would recognize from the real world. It's really like a big part of the way they play around with these games. They never explain it, but like, there was just like all of these licensed products, like Duracell batteries and stuff in Pikmin 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And what,
it's got to be like post-apocalyptic or something.
Yeah. So like when you beat the demo here, like you get like this old phone. And it's like it's not a cell phone. It's just like one of those wireless phones that you set on the charger, and it's like, oh, cool. I can increase our communication range with the parts from this and all of that. So it's one of the charms of these games is these characters coming across the fruit and the other items and stuff in this world and trying to make sense of them and explain them in their own little ways.
But you have the dramatic irony of being like, it's a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny because you're after fruit in this, like, because you erased the cope or your homeworld, the Copi. Fruit is what they desire. But when you come across Captain Olimar and you hear where they're from, I forget that starts with an H. I forget their
Hulkertate. Yeah.
Thank you. they only eat vegetables, and like Alf makes a remark about like how that's so strange. Like they eat vegetables. What? Who doesn't eat fruit? It's like this weird like fruit versus veggies thing going on. Like it's kind of funny. I was like, oh okay. But speaking of Olimar, they do in the Treehouse Live they showed off missions involving Captain Olimar and Louis. I'm not as familiar with Louis as
it's
Captain
from
Olimar.
Pikmin 2.
From Pikmin 2. Their adventures on the planet and those little data files that are left behind, I guess you get to see what they were doing to lead up to those. They showed like a tundra environment, so it was like a nice snowy environment, so just something completely different than we had seen. The objectives is different though. It still functions the same way. You can toggle between the two playable characters and cycle through all your Pikmin. Not only did they have more Pikmin available to them, they had the blue and yellow Pikmin available at that point as well. So blue can go in water. The yellow can deal with the electrified fences. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm going to get eventually to deal with those. Oh, that's cool. But your
yellow can also be thrown higher. They're lighter.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
I love these little properties. Oh, I didn't even talk about how you can feed them nectar and they grow flowers and they get.
It's so cute.
Yeah, I love that. Your objective is to basically collect as much treasure within a time limit to get a high score, essentially. So you're trying to bring back as many.
Too.
Yeah. Oh, it is? Okay. So I have no experience with Pikmin 2, so. It was just a nice different type of mode where you are just trying to like collect. It's not so much about trying to reach a destination so much as here's an environment, bring back everything you can within the time limit and try and survive. There seemed like there was a lot more enemies and hazards present on what they showed in the Treehouse Live than anything I saw in the story mode demo. It was like much more intimidating and much more chaotic, I felt like. So I wonder if Pikmin 3 story gets up to that level, but if not, this is definitely something that I feel will offer a little bit more to push back on terms of you need to have a better strategy. You need to really think things through if you want to get a decent score in this mode. So I think it looked cool.
It's been a long time since I played Pikmin 3, cause I really I did the review of game trailers and I don't think I ever ended up going back to it for any reason, but like even though it's vague, I do remember like that final stretch, like that final level being like this is like pushing you to like really use everything in your toolkit to get through. So
nice. That I love that what they're alluding to with that. So I'm looking forward to that. I think though the last thing they showed was probably the most interesting. It's part of the multiplayer stuff that's being added, which is unique. So first of all, story mode can be played completely through as co-op. That was not present in the original version. So they're adding a whole 2-player co-op mode they can do. It's local only though. There's no online. I think that was like a little bit of a weird thing, but so be it's Nintendo. So that seems to be their MO sometimes. But this last mode is a competitive multiplayer mode. It's called Bingo Battle. And when they were showing it off, you basically have a 4x4 card, and things you bring back to the onion to be absorbed will fill in a space. But it's you and another player. It's the same resources on the map. You're on the same map as each other. So you're fighting to bring back stuff. And you can try and sabotage them. You can send your Pikmin against them to try and if you send more Pikmin than them, like say they send 5 of 5 to hold the item. If you send 10 against it, it'll start pushing it away and try and steal it from them. Or you can bring back cherries to generate more Pikmin. And also there's an item box, like a Mario Kart style, where in a corner you can get a random item and use it against it. And when they show off, they use boulders. So the guy was just guiding his whole group of Pikmin to go get something, and the dude unleashed boulders at that moment, and it squashed all but one of his blue Pikmin. Like, he was left with one Pikmin left and was like, no, my Pikmin! So you can kill other people's Pikmin, you can try and steal their items, and you're just trying to make a line. Like a horizontal, diagonal, or vertical line. Whoever does that first wins. And you're just fighting for the same resources in a map. The first map was pretty big. It was like a triangle. Like it had like three land masses with like a bridge type thing in between each, like lanes, I guess. So you had to like fight like that. But then they did like a speed mode version, a tiny map, like a little square. And it was over in 2 minutes. The first match was like 15 minutes, and the speed match was like 2.5 minutes over. So quick. And the amount of toggling between, that was high level when they were like, especially the last match. Holy crap. So I wonder, I feel like that might have a lot of potential. I feel like, and show maybe high level Pikmin play at it, how frantic it could really get. Just a bummer. There's
Coming to Evo.
Yeah, Evo, dude. I would love to see Evo Pikmin like bingo battles. That would be pretty cool. Just think
This mode seems like a lot of fun. I think it's another thing that makes me bummed that we can't have 10 people in the studio, you know, because like,
yeah,
what a stream.
it's perfect. Yeah, it's the perfect couch versus mode game. I think for one of a great example of that. But again, not having online, so like it stinks because we can't play it remotely. It is split screen, so I think that's nice to have that. Actually, I'll argue that the split screen is nice because you could see your opponent on your screen and in their screen. So like it's like the screen sniping and stuff. So they were actively saying, I see what you're doing over here." So but that's something, I don't think that's unfair because you have to keep track of everything. Like that's just adding more to you to consider. It's like, oh God, they're doing this. Oh, mind games. What did I can't keep track. Like you have more of a chance to space out and freak out and just mess up or something like that. It was just very, I loved what I was seeing. It seemed very unique. And I was like, wow, I didn't know they could come up with competitive Pikmin. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm
like
pretty sure they had some multiplayer in the past. I don't remember the details. But yeah, definitely a fun addition here.
Yeah. As we started off with Ian alluding to being pretty impressed by this, I'm in the same boat. I'm very impressed with the demo. The Treehouse Live stuff looked pretty good. I will say the one thing that maybe makes me pause from originally made me pause from buying it, especially the price tag being its full price. Well, the aesthetic is nice. The game doesn't look it. It is visually not that great looking to me in terms on a technical level. It's clearly low effort in terms of the port.
Well, I don't know about low effort. It's just the texture samples that they use. They're still, they show their age. Like on the GameCube, on SD, that stuff all looked amazing. It looked like you're looking into a little real world with cartoon characters on it. And now, when you're looking at full 1080p, like essentially, like they need higher sample textures.
Apparently, it's not even running at 1080p. At least the demo, it's 720, or not even quite 720. And like the docked mode is sub 720. So I guess that's what I mean. It looked a little blurry at times. Anytime I went into the camera mode and could see the skybox, that was like, oh, that is nope. That is just some stretched texture image they're using for the skybox over there. Okay, I mean, but that's not what you generally view the viewpoint of your camera angle. I saw it in SD though. Saw how amazing Pikmin looked before. I think it's a little unfortunate. A little bit more effort didn't go into tweaking the textures, maybe getting it to run at a higher resolution. And I felt like this game, from what I'm seeing, I'm surprised it's not a 1080p 60 frames per second game for this type of port for $60. That's a little, gives me a moment to pause about maybe I would definitely want to play this game, but I know Nintendo games don't generally go on sale, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they knock off like $10 here and there every year. I might actually end up holding off on this because it's coming out at a busy time of year. I might wait a little bit to dive into this, but we'll see.
Yeah, I only played it in handheld, so I guess I haven't seen much Pikmin, so I thought it was cute. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's not like a showpiece, really.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I may be a little too harsh on the what the game overall is, because everything else about it was really good and impressive to me. And again, that's coming from someone who'd never really played the first two games beyond like 15-20 minutes just to get some gameplay back in game trailers. So for veterans, I don't know how 3 is generally regarded in the trilogy, whether it's viewed as like with the best one, the middle one, or the worst one. I'm not quite sure how it's
I don't
really
feel
viewed.
like people rank those games in that way. I feel like everyone just sort of into all of them for what they are. I mean, Pikmin 2 did some weird different things with like spend a lot of more time underground. But in general, I feel like everybody that's into Pikmin, like, kind of highly regards all three of them for doing different things.
And I think, like, for me, I mean, I've said this a few times in the past, but like, strong style choices override graphical fidelity for me pretty much always. So, yeah, I guess it doesn't bother me as much just because I thought, I don't know, the general art direction was solid, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's,
I guess maybe that's why I didn't really notice.
I want to give it that credit, at least, that it did have that going for it. It's just there were points where I was just reminded, oh, this is an older game.
Well, and like you were saying with the camera mode, like those textures aren't made to be viewed up close. You know, like you're supposed to be zoomed out to a degree.
Makes sense.
Here I am over here, like, surprised you can turn the camera.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, you can turn the camera? That's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Like video games.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe I'll jump into it earlier than I expect. We'll see. I mean, I definitely want to play it at some point. I'm definitely sold on Pikmin for sure. Treehouse Live also covered Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity after they wrapped up the Pikmin 3 Deluxe part of the presentation. We've seen a lot of Hyrule Warriors over the past month. We got several presentations. We got several trailers. It's coming out November 20th is their big holiday title as of now. And it's a big deal because it is a official prequel to Breath of the Wild, and it is now part of the Breath of the Wild. I've dubbed it. I mean, other people have dubbed it. It's not creative. The Breath of the Wild trilogy now, because you have this, you have Breath of the Wild, and you have the sequel to Breath of the Wild coming out. So there will be a trifecta.
I was like, what's the third one?
Yeah, there will be a trifecta of games
not out
that
yet.
are featuring the same characters, same Link and Zelda.
Yeah.
And that's pretty special. And this game is shaping up. I don't know about the quality in the end because I haven't had hands-on with it, but it's definitely shaping up to be something way more than I ever expected a Muso game to ever be, and to be something that could be such an integral part of a Zelda, part of the Zelda series, because there was Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. It seemed like a cool spin-off that was fun, a lot of fan service for people into the Zelda series, but ultimately it wasn't a top shelf game like what you expect out of a mainline Zelda game. This definitely feels like that, a mainline Zelda game quality type effort. And we got to see some new stuff here. They started off by showing Urbosa fighting in Gerudo Town against the Yiga clan. And I thought this looked pretty good. Her
lightning stuff was really cool.
Yeah, her lightning stuff. Did you get a chance to see how it actually worked, or did you?
Yeah, how it's like timing based combo stuff, right?
Yeah, they were saying like when lightning was in the air, if you kept doing stuff while that was still active, you charge up your gauge in the top left. Yeah. And that meter, you spend bars to use her electrified attacks. And it seemed like a very good, skill-driven system. It's not just straight up button mashing. There is reward for people who learn how to use the characters and their kind of like their quirks to their fight style.
Yeah, because they were saying stuff like, they were like, if she can time it right, she can keep this going. And it's like, oh, okay, so it's like hard. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It looked really cool. The thing I thought looked really cool is you could just like run around Gerudo Town at points and go inside buildings, look around.
Yeah.
They found a Korok at one point, just hidden in a corner.
Yeah. Well, and it's like pre-Calamity, so the bar and stuff, like things look nicer, they look better. I'm so like, I don't know how to feel about this game, Damiani, because like on the one hand, I've played Muso games a handful of times on like, I think mostly just on streams for us. I've never bought one. I've never played through one entirely. But I, devoured almost everything in Breath of the Wild. I didn't get all the Korok seeds, and I think I missed 2 or 3 shrines, because I was trying to do it without guides. But like, it's one of my favorite games ever, Breath of the Wild. And like, so there are parts of this that I'm just like, oh my God, yes. And then there are other parts where I'm like, okay, is this combat? Am I gonna find this really fun and engaging, or am I gonna burn out after an hour and a half?
That's
Right.
fair.
And I honestly,
Fair
like
question.
watching that treehouse, I kept going back and forth on it. And then like the map simultaneously got me excited, but also gave me like Mass Effect 3, like managing a bunch of areas, like flashbacks and like timers of waiting for food to get done. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I'm going to love that or hate it. Like, it's freaking me out down
I
here.
mean, I will say this to maybe help sell the potential of it. I can't speak to the combat in terms of every single Muso game, no matter how diverse they get. I think at some point it starts to feel obviously samey, and that gameplay loop gets repetitive. That is just the
The
nature of those
characters having
games.
different styles of fighting seems great.
I think that'll definitely help. I think what might hook you in the most and keep you stick with the game, Ian, is how much story they are presenting in this game.
Yeah.
Just going back to Urbosa, they said we are going to we are going to get some background on Urbosa's relationship with Zelda. So more information about their relationship,
And
but
Zelda's
also
mother.
or Urbosa's relationship with Zelda's late mother. So we're going to get more character development in this game that will have more of a payoff knowing what happens in Breath of the Wild. I think this game, I think has a lot of potential in the narrative department, because I know you loved the story in Breath of the Wild, Ian, and how it was told.
Maybe the most out of any of the Easy Allies.
But I remember how I kept talking about like the potential of it. I felt like it was just like stuck because it was all happened in the past. This is giving me what I wanted. I get to play as these characters. I get to see what happened. I get that development I felt I was missing in Breath of the Wild, and that's what makes me so excited about this. But I also I feel like this might be one of the hooks for you. And I understand it's gonna be more traditional storytelling, but I feel like it's gonna be the characters you care about, and you're gonna get to learn more about their bonds, as Huber would say. So maybe that will set you.
I mean, like, you know, I'm a FromSoft kid, you know, so like lore-based stuff is definitely my fave when it comes to video games. So that's why I didn't mind the past being the focus of the story of Breath of the Wild, because the present is more about the mystery, you know. And I guess it's convenient that Link had amnesia in Breath of the Wild, because like in this footage, I'm like, Link's just in Gerudo Town? Like, what the hell? Like, I guess because we were talking about this before, but it's like, yeah, he's like a royal guard for Zelda, so like he probably gets a diplomatic exception, as you said, Bloodworth. But like, I was just like, what? Like, he's been in there before? Not only is he a man in there, but he's been there before. Like,
sure, yeah.
But then I was like, oh, but he couldn't remember, so I guess whatever. But yeah, I hope that it's, you know, I'm not against story games. I just beat Paradise Killer last night, so it's like, yeah, if it's not tedious, I think it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
To see everybody's relationships. Yeah.
And your point about the map, and I'm kind of curious maybe to hear your thoughts on this as well, Blood, about the map. So when they show up the map, it looks like Hyrule, like just the interface. But instead of going through linear stages or picking like, here, go to the next stage, those icons represent different stages, but also different side activities. It does seem like it potentially get overwhelming, Ian. I don't know how much of it's going to be like, if you neglect this, it's like it becomes bad or something, like enemies take over. Right. I don't know if it's going to be that.
That stuff stresses me out.
It was like they said by having certain ingredients, you can unlock certain parts on the map. They showed off like a blacksmith. So there's no weapon durability. Obviously, that would make no sense in a Muso game. That would probably drive people over the edge. But like, you spend rupees, straight up rupees, to upgrade up to like 5 different weapons you can carry at a time. And that's simplified. You can make food. Food gives you active buffs going into a mission, which is still like the same thing like that. And then there are like side objectives.
Different characters have favorite foods, they said.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I really like those small touches, stuff like that. Also, like the monster parts can be used to increase like health, unlock new abilities. So the way it's presented, I think, gives at least the very least the illusion of this isn't linear. This is you have a bunch of tries to capture as much of the essence of Breath of the Wild as possible without being Breath of the Wild. You can't just go anywhere at any time. You have to pick up
Right.
the map and it's going to load that area. But I still like I still like this presentation. I still like the concept they're going for and how far they're pushing it to feel like a Breath of the Wild world game, but yet it's still Muso. I'm wondering
Well, and
how.
since you're at war, like it would make sense to be different. Like Link isn't just out wandering doing whatever. He's like fighting a war with Zelda, you know? So it would make sense that you like plan by region and stuff.
Yeah, this is literally the point they made, that this game could only be done as a Muso. They said trying to do this as a traditional style Zelda game when it makes sense. Like a Great War backdrop doesn't work for a puzzle-heavy, isolated solo adventure. This is a
Right.
large-scale battles. But I mean, they also talked about like the gear and stuff. You can change Link's appearance. You can make him topless again if you want. The all that like
Got it.
as much
They were having a lot of fun with that.
they were.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about your thoughts, Blood, about like the kind of the map interface. Like, do you think it's a little overwhelming? Do you like what they're going for with this?
The map is one of the things I thought was pretty cool because, you know, you do get that, again, you get that sense of like, okay, you can't just walk around everywhere, but all of Hyrule is sort of there and represented in one way or another. And, like, yeah, they got that, like the chill fish from the place down in the south. And then they used that, going into one of the other regions. I think it was cool that they show off, some of the levels, like they did the training mission with the guards, and it's like, this is a fortress that like you might recognize, but you kind of might not recognize because it's, hasn't been destroyed yet. And so things like that is like the most appealing to me in terms of the map, is like visiting some of these areas and seeing what they were like. But yeah, I guess my biggest hesitation, kind of like with Ian, is just like, I don't know that I'm going to be that into this gameplay style, because I just feel like a lot of times with the Warriors games, Muso games, that like I feel like this idea of the 1 versus 100 or whatever, and just like slicing through normal enemies, like just doesn't feel that satisfying to me. It doesn't feel like it has that much weight and draw to it, and then you do get like bigger, like boss level enemies, or like the Hinox that they were doing, and they did some cool combo stuff with the stasis and all of that. But it is, that paired with them frequently like popping up different objectives and like managing like multiple parts of the battle at the same time. It's sometimes it's weird, because it feels like I'm not really getting a whole lot out of like the moment to moment combat system, and then at the same time I'm having to like run around and like push back the waves of what's going on across an individual map. But I did like, like I said, I did like some of the things they were doing in terms of like the objectives, like after you got out of the Gerudo town, and it was like make a loud noise kind of thing, and you draw out the monster, and just like that was just a really cool way to integrate things into those systems.
Well, and like they show fighting the Hinox at the end, right? That's young Impa, isn't it?
Yes.
Like that kind of stuff is super cool, and like her moveset looks really neat. Like with
Her moveset is Naruto.
Shadow clones.
Yeah, basically like
shadow
weird,
clones and a
cool
giant frog.
Shadow clones.
Yeah. Paper bombs.
Putting out those like magic scrolls and stuff. I love it. But it's like she seems super different from how Link or Garuda Lady
Urbosa,
Urbosa and Zelda play. Like Zelda basically is a mage. Like she's just using all the like tech stuff instead of fighting herself, which seemed really cool too. Like that element of it seems really fun, and everyone using stasis and stuff in different ways. If it shakes it up, and if it feels like planned out and not just kind of like, okay, now do this, like now do that, okay, here's 400 guys, like, yeah, I think it could stave off getting repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like fighting off scrubs seems pretty funny, where it's just kind of like you just like bat aside like 50 dudes.
Yeah, anytime that you're like juggling 30 characters, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna make you wonder why in Breath of the Wild you can't do that. It's like, wait, why can't I just like
Right.
juggle 30 of these bokoblins in front of me? What? Why do I have to like
He
methodically
forgot. He
why,
forgot
why do I have
how.
weapon durability? I mean, yeah, I mean,
Forgot.
it's a different.
All the weapons broke down after the Calamity.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I think that almost works in its in a lore sense. That it's like it's been 100 years. These things been sitting around.
Yeah,
Nobody's making new weapons.
Yeah, all the weapons just degraded after enough time. I'm curious though, if did you happen to recognize that training ground the area Bloodworth or no? Or were you trying to keep it a surprise as well, like they were?
I mean, I vaguely have a sense of where that is and what part of the map they're talking about. I mean, I feel like I'd need to compare, like put them side by side to be sure that's the thing that's in my head. But I think so.
Cool. I'm hoping there are more
where
payoffs
is
of
it?
like that, because as you're saying, Ian, we see this pre-calamity, so we're seeing environments as they look before they were turned to ruins. To
I mean, it just looks like Hyrule Field. There's the castle.
That's Impa's gameplay. We're talking about the Link training one where he's fighting against.
No, I'm looking at the training one. You can see the castle in the background.
Oh, okay. I mean, you should be able
like
to.
way far away.
It looks like a certain environment from another Zelda game. It is almost identical.
Okay.
Oh.
At one point, they show the map in the bottom right. There's a part of that map that should maybe give you a hint because of its shape. To a part.
Girl, Twilight Princess was my first Zelda, so
then you wouldn't. Yeah, I'll give you a hint. It's not that, and it's before Twilight Princess. So.
Well, then I don't know. I mean, I played.
Hey,
Link's
people
Awakening
already speculate.
now,
I mean, it's not a spoiler.
I doubt
because
it's
I
that.
don't think this game has any direct continuity with that other stuff, as we've debated over time. It's Lon Lon Ranch, so it's the circular track with the gates for the horses to jump over, and then they have that big stone pillar thing that it looks like a giant chimney. Like a almost a rampart looking thing at the top, and maybe it's in the southwest corner, the west end of it, and then there's the buildings right in the northeast corner. There's way more buildings in general, but that part of it matches up structurally almost to Ocarina of Time's Lon Lon Ranch. So I was like, nice nod.
Okay,
that's
so I'm
cool.
hoping there's other parts of the map. There's a place called May Village. Maybe that looks similar to Link's Awakening's May. I don't know. It'd be nice if they go that far with the Easter eggs, the nods. That would be kind of cool to see. I feel like is going to those name places and they look similar, even though it wouldn't make any sense why. It just would be cool.
Well, that's kind of I said this before on the podcast, I think, but my hope is that this game's attention to detail is so ridiculous that we'll have YouTube videos for years about in the field where there are all those rusted old guardian robots, everyone that falls in this game is in the exact same place in Breath of the Wild, I want to see stuff like that.
We talked about this on the previous episode. We talked about Hyrule Warriors a lot in the last few episodes, but this actually is related to the patron question I'm going to ask you about Hyrule Warriors. So the patron question is from Samuel. Hi, allies. There's a surprisingly large amount of story in the recent Age of Calamity trailers. How deep do you think the story of Age of Calamity will be? And do you think a connection to Breath of the Wild 2 is more likely now, love and respect?
Oh, yeah.
So in regard to that, I said I think there will be, I don't know, before this latest round, these past week stuff, I would have said I felt not great about a Breath of the Wild 2 direct connection. But in a previous episode of Frank Code, I said I wouldn't be surprised if there is a random patch update to Breath of the Wild, the main game, which drops Baby Guardian's ruins somewhere in the game or whatever. There's that little guardian companion who's in the artwork who you see in some of the stuff. It would be interesting. They just added it to a random spot in Breath of the Wild as a patch update. This is an Easter egg to be because it's obviously not in that game, so something had to have happened to it. So that's where it ends up or something like that. But I want to hear your stuff because my mind has changed after seeing the more recent stuff. Do you think there will be any connection to Breath of the Wild sequel?
I think I think that it's almost guaranteed. I don't know whether they'll, overtly drop hints to things that, what we can make those connections to based on the little trailer we got.
Will we recognize it even if there is?
But yeah, I do think there may be some places where people can dig in, and like once Breath of the Wild 2 is out, and somebody that's like really, noted all the lore from Age of Calamity is going to be like, see, it was right there. They told you all along.
The thing for me that is exciting, and I mean, obviously it's like a different developer or whatever, different team, but like, we've got a bunch of playable characters other than Link. So that's my main hope, is that like we've been speculating, that you get to play as Zelda and Link in 2. Because it'd be sweet.
They've all.
But also like, oh sorry.
Go ahead, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if in this one we see like them go down into like underground areas,
Yeah.
then we'll immediately be like, oh, all right, well, like they used these before, like Zelda knows about these tunnels, like, oh, there are dungeons down here, like, then that will definitely tip the hat in a way that we can easily recognize and be like, oh crap, like, okay, like this stuff has been under Hyrule forever. Because I mean, that's still my theory, is that there are 8 dungeons just underground or something.
Yeah. Well, there was that one temple
that
was like, there's a huge like
Yeah.
hut in the ground, and that old ancient temple that you explored in Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, with all the guardians in it. Yeah.
For like a foresty temple, like the Ogrand Times Forest Temple vibe, but like not a temple, which is like some ruins. So I was like, man, this feels more like a old style Zelda dungeon theme environment than any of the Divine Beast, ironically.
Yeah.
I will say, I thought there might be no real concrete connections between this and the sequel to Breath of the Wild until the more recent. So they've done these Untold Chronicles videos. They've done 2 of them now. The first one, in addition to Treehouse Live, the Treehouse Live, I think, there was one Untold Chronicle, then Treehouse Live, and then the newest Untold Chronicle came out. The first one showed Pura and Robbie. The Pura is the character who cast did that magic or whatever, used her research to make herself younger, so she looked like a child instead, even though she's supposed to be over 100 years old.
Yeah,
you have to see how she really looks as like a teenager or whatever in this video. Which is kind of cool, and I saw people going kind of like nuts about seeing that, and Robbie, how they looked in their younger form. But this most recent one, which is focused on the Yiga and Master Koga, who you do fight in Breath of the Wild, there's a tease at the end of this one. There's a robed character wielding some kind of like floating orb thing. I made a Final Fantasy 14 joke on Twitter. It looks like an Astrologian job from Final Fantasy 14 where they wield a floating orb of cards. But what's more unique about the robe is the symbol on the back that looks like a Gerudo symbol. So there is some speculation that there might be some backstory developed in Age of Calamity regarding maybe some kind of underground cult movement, or the origins of like, maybe a Gerudo movement, or like a dark movement or something associated with that, what we assume is a humanoid version of Ganondorf in the Breath of the Wild sequel trailer. That corpse that came to life that everyone just assumes is Ganondorf in his Gerudo humanoid form. Will this have any connection to something like that? This character, we've seen their face, a part of their face, and we've seen them. As far as we know, there's been no character that looks like this outfit seen in before or in Breath of the Wild. A lot of crazy speculation. Some people think it might be Yuga from A Link Between Worlds. Some people's like, oh, it's Body. It's Body. It's like this game's version of it. Who knows? The sky's the limit when it comes to this. But it could just be a new cool villain they made just for this game. I don't know, but I would give the chances of something connecting in this game to the sequel to Breath of the Wild, I give it better chances now because of this. I feel this deserves a bump. Yeah.
Very cool.
I understand the gameplay reservations, though, about Hyrule Warriors, about the gameplay loop. As someone who's played Muso games, especially the original Hyrule Warriors, it does burn out. It feels like you burn out after a while. I feel definitely more optimistic about this. I'm definitely looking more forward to this one for sure. So we got about a month till we can get our hands on it and see how it actually holds up, I guess.
It's coming up quick.
Yeah, very quick. But something we did get our hands on finally in our final segment for this episode. Steve from Minecraft finally arrived in Super Smash Brothers this week. I put a little bit of time. I played through classic mode once with Steve. I don't have much to say other than Steve feels like a very complex character, plays very differently from anything I've seen before.
Yeah, so I mean, I basically just played through the classic mode as well, but I dug up some guides and looked at how his different moves are used, and I think that's the main thing that's different with him, is that most of his moves require resources. So you kind of have to like spend a little bit time here and there, like digging into the stage to like get different resources. And depending on the level and where you are on the level, you know, you can get like wood and iron and stone. And then every once in a while you'll get like a little bit of redstone or diamond or something like that. And so speaking of weapon durability, all of his items also are breakable. And so he's got like the little workbench there, and so if your sword breaks or your shovel breaks or something, like, you can still attack or still dig, but you're not going to be as effective. But then you go to the workbench and, you know, you can craft new tools, and you can also, again, like when you get like diamond and stuff, you can craft better tools that have more, you know, attack damage and all of that. And then the blocks, I think I misunderstood how the blocks work from the trailers. So the blocks basically is like you only put them down when you're in the air, so you kind of jump, and then you lay a block under where you jump.
Okay.
But then if you hold the B button, then you can just start walking and like laying down blocks as you walk. So you can like create a ceiling over other people.
Huh.
And based on how much you've been digging, like the durability of those blocks is based on like how much resources you have. And if you run out of resources in his meter, then you can't put any more blocks down. So you've got to go and dig to get more. And there are certain, I forget what, like wool and stuff that I think are only available on certain stages. And then on the Minecraft stage itself, you can, like when you dig, you actually smash through the blocks that are above kind of like the base level. And there's some other little bits too. Oh, the thing that I thought was there's a couple of things that you can do with him with, so I think it's the down B that drops the TNT. But again, if you hold the B, then you can walk a line of like essentially like the gunpowder line, and then you put a detonator down whenever you let go of the button. So it creates this neat little opportunity to where you can form a combo. So where like you put a TNT block over to the right, somebody comes and attacks you, and like you bat them over to the TNT, and then you step onto the trigger and then blow them up. And then one of the other things is with the minecart, which is the side B. So you can just kind of like, basically do like a side attack with a minecart. Or if there's enough distance, you can jump out of the minecart, and when it hits them, they'll be trapped in it for a bit of time, and they have to have to struggle to get out.
I used that a lot. That seemed really fun to use. Also, the up A smash, the burning block one.
Yeah,
that seems so ridiculously overpowered. Because you just hold it up there and like on the edge, and anyone like landing from the air is like, you hit that, you're done. Like it's so big too. I was like, oh, this is so good. But like the minecart thing was like great. There's just like, I was like, wait, the first time I used it, like, wait, I just keep going back and forth. How do I get out? Let me jump. Oh, it's still going. Oh, it hit the person. Oh, they're in it. Oh, they're going bye now. I was like, oh, that's great. But man,
he is very limited on mobility.
Yes.
Like he doesn't move very well, doesn't move very fast.
That up B is wonky at times. The gliding.
It's not wonky, but you're locked in.
Yeah.
So if you do that and the trajectory is just going to take you off the level, then too bad. You can't turn around and come back unless somebody hits you. So
that happened.
Could you build a block then to? to save yourself?
I kind of don't think so. I think you're just
You
kind
lose
of,
control at that
yeah.
point. I think you're just set on your path, and you have to like make contact with a solid object to stop your movement or land on surface to regain mobility. But I think you're locked out of any other like action other than maybe canceling it and fall, like just starting a normal fall. But like you can't like do another command action to actually like do like an attack or build. I think.
Yeah,
Sure.
and there are some things too, like I think it's the down. I think it's the down A where you use the flint, and there's like you're a little bit vulnerable at the end of that. And again, like just having some to mine, sometimes if people don't give you the time to do that, then a lot of your attacks you can't use. One thing that is another little these weird nuances with him is, so the workbench where you like create new tools and upgrade tools, people can destroy that. People can attack that and destroy that.
Oh man.
And then it'll take a second to respawn. But one of the things with it is if you block and then push the B button, you'll teleport the workbench to where you are. So that's another little bit of the strategy that plays in there.
This seems like one of the more complex characters, but also B, they paid so much attention to detail in replicating like the feel of Minecraft and capturing the spirit of Minecraft in this character that it's also equally impressive. So it's like both daunting and impressive what they've accomplished after getting hands-on and trying this out. It's just pretty insane that this is a real thing, in my opinion. And it works.
Well, even just dumb little things like when you tilt the stick up, you like see his head raise up and down. Even though there's got a lot of things like jump, there's like when you jump, there's practically no animation. It's just like the model just
moves. I was like, oh my gosh, they really just nailed that authentic feel, didn't they? One semi-controversial thing though that came out of this update is apparently Steve's windscreen is might need some reworking apparently. Because of what it looks like.
Got some big meat and he's holding his meat in an interesting place.
It's
one headline I saw was like, he's a little too excited about the win.
Interesting that got past that went through Nintendo. I mean, maybe they were like so set in what they were seeing that they thought
they're too pure.
Yeah, they were like, no,
don't see it.
He's just holding food and eating it. What are you gonna eat it in a sec? What are you talking about? Oh.
Or they're just maybe we're the prudes and they're just like, yeah, it's his big dick. What? Like they're fine with it.
You asked us to start getting with the times and we did it, and now you're complaining? Hypocrites. Come on. Next thing you know, we're gonna do rollback netcode on online and you're gonna complain about it too. Just can't win with you, Nintendo fan. No, I'm sure that will be updated at some point in the near future. They'll probably change that windscreen, but it's just kind of comical to see that that is what's the meme coming out of this. Of all the things they did with Steve and Smash and Smash, it's the windscreen. Windscreens, they're important. Like that Persona 5 windscreen. Holy crap! When you do the all-in attack and like it's authentic, they got to make it look right. So it's a big deal.
It is nice to get a little reward though when you win.
It is.
A little something extra special.
It definitely is. Maybe Steve might lose that now. Steve might be less special. You might feel a little less satisfied when you win.
They're gonna neuter Steve.
But yeah, that is the second fighter of Fighter Pass Volume 2. We have 4 more characters. Who knows when we'll hear about the next one? We've gotten 2 in just about a year. So I would not be surprised if all the rest of them are supposed to be out by the end of next year. I have a feeling that's probably not going to happen. And at some point, they're just going to have to rip off that Band-Aid and say, hey, they're not all coming out next year. But honestly, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. The longer this game keeps getting updates, the better it is. Yeah. This is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This game is built to last. This is a game that could last for 10 years. All those other games that say, oh, we're on a 10-year roadmap, this is a game that actually could pull that off because of how insane the same things they're doing with this game in terms of like the roster.
Well, and like I it's no secret that Smash isn't really for me, but like, what would you rather have? Like 4 more characters by the time they promised, or 4 more balanced characters that work well.
Yeah.
You know, like in a game like this, balance is just so important. It has to take the time it has to take, because otherwise it's just going to break the game.
Well, again, though, what's crazy is it's not just balance, right? It's a lot of these characters, you know, it's a little bit daunting, but it's crazy they're coming up with entirely like new mechanics for how these guys work. You know, like this guy in the Dragon Quest
ripples
hero.
Back.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to change all the levels for Steve. They had to like update the way the code works so that this new character would work on the whole game.
Yeah.
Which is hugely daunting.
Yeah. It's insane. And I like that approach from Sakurai and his team. Don't make the game bend to Smash Brothers. Make Smash Brothers bend to the game. It's trying to adapt, and I think you're seeing the payoff here. I do have a Patron question though from Uranian about the potency of these updates, and maybe there's something a little bit more Nintendo could be doing. So they say Steve is out in Minecraft now. I think they meant Steve from Minecraft is now out in Smash Brothers, and he's a very interesting addition. But there's one thing that disappoints me: the music selection. None of the music included is from Minecraft itself. There's a couple of songs from Minecraft Dungeons and one from Earth. Though the rest say Minecraft, they're actually from... though the others say they're from Minecraft, they're actually from the weird Versus mini games that were in the pre-Bedrock console editions. Is it strange to have one of the biggest games in the world and not have the iconic music that comes with it? Because honestly, yes, the music additions to these definitely adds to the excitement, definitely builds the stage, the character, and the music selection. Like when the Persona music, oh yeah, like that was exciting. Banjo-Kazooie, oh, you better believe they better had all those songs in there. So for Minecraft, sounds like I'm not as familiar with Minecraft soundtrack. So if this is
it's really depressing.
Oh.
Like that's the thing. It's all pretty understated and kind of sad. Like it makes me sad now. Like, and I mean, I have a lengthy past with Minecraft, so there's that. But like, I don't know. The music just makes me so sad. Like even when it pops up in a funny meme of like a dog like doing something cute or something, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if sad is the right way, but it is definitely the traditional music that you would hear is more subdued and ambient, and it's, I mean, that's what fits Minecraft really well, right? Because the idea is it's not rushing you, it's not pushing you to do a certain thing. It's like, if you want to explore, then you're exploring. If you're going to go underground, you're going to go underground, and so, yeah, I think there is a little bit of that compromise that has to be made in terms of, okay, well, now what fits into a fighting game? It's something that's a lot more action heavy. Some of those tracks, they may have even put them in there and tested them, and they're just like, this doesn't work. Like, this doesn't feel right. This just feels really awkward. So,
because like, yeah, subdued toy piano over, a hyped up dance battle remix. It could work. I could see it working, but yeah, it would be weird.
Yeah, I guess maybe the remix, like how much effort it would take to make a remix of any of these songs to make them fit faster paced style of a fight. Just
also, I wonder about the rights, because like this is probably a deal with Microsoft. And so like, I mean, I assume that they have the rights to C418 or whatever his name is stuff, but like, who the hell knows? Like maybe that deal was negotiated back when Minecraft was super indie, whatever. So like the details of that contract might be very bizarre, like maybe he retained the rights to those and like allowed it for Minecraft, but nothing else or something, like, and they just didn't want to pay him. I could see that being the case. I don't have any details. I've met him once, but
yeah, I mean, even in companies that do own all the rights, I mean, Cloud and Final Fantasy 7 music, we got slim pickings for that because Gornex decided to be a little bit stingy with that music. But yeah, I guess I would expect if it wasn't a rights issue, how open Microsoft has been to working with Nintendo on this with Smash, that that wouldn't be what held it up. It'd have to be like a rights issue or some kind of like contractual thing, I would guess. Or as the both of you pointed out very astutely, that the music most of it just doesn't fit the style of Smash in a fighting game.
If I were to guess, it would be one of those two things or a combination somehow thereof.
Sure.
For sure. Because Microsoft and Nintendo seem to be bedfellows at this point. Like they don't seem to be competing the way that they used to.
Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Friend Code. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions for consideration for this episode of Friend Code. If you'd like to submit a question for consideration for a future episode of Friend Code, you need to be a $5 and up patron. I will make the post each week calling for your questions and submissions, so be on the lookout for that. Also, as a $5 patron, you're part of our early access tier. You get episodes of some of our podcasts and shows early as part of that. And for everyone else who watches our shows, including this one, it goes up on YouTube. This goes up on YouTube on Fridays. Thank you very much for supporting the show in whichever way you see fit. Thank you very much for that. We also have some shout outs for the month of October. Let's give some shout outs to, and I love how I just closed the window, which had all of them in front of me by accident when I
realized last night at 2:30 in the morning as I was going to sleep that I forgot to do them for reaction shots.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no, like days later.
We're not going to forget here, so sorry for the delay. Shout outs to Elthanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Caleb Togi Crawford. Shout out. Thank you very much. Thank you two for joining me on this episode of Friend Code.
Pleasure.
Yeah, fun stuff talking about all of this. Good to have you both on again. But until next time, everybody, may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.